My name is Mark Tall. I'm Mayor of Escanaba, and I am here today to thank our city employees for the outstanding work they did yesterday to find the problem, to solve the problem, to clear the piles of ice that were created, and to thank our public safety department for keeping us safe, directing people away from the problem while our crews were doing so much hard work. Beyond that, I have very little else to say, but I'd like to introduce our water and wastewater superintendent. Jeff, why don't you come up here and give us a complete rundown of what happened and why.
Around 5 a.m. we were notified of a main break by DPW that was plowing. By 5:15 we were mobilizing people. By 6 we had feet on the ground. It took us several hours to isolate the problem. We lost most of the water in our south water tower, and it became critical to keep the system pressure. So we increased our pumpage, asked the customers throughout the city to not use water, and luckily, after several hours, we were able to dig through a couple feet of water. DPW made berms to direct the water in different directions to allow us access to the valves, and we were able to shut that down and do the repairs in the afternoon. I don't know if you have questions. That's pretty much the gist of it.
One of the questions was, how far down was the break? Was it below the frost line or above it?
Well, we believe the frost is somewhere around 50 inches. We've been speaking with Jody Norman at the county. We have some experimental frost depth sites throughout the city. 45 to 55 inches where we think it is, but that's a guess. And I don't think it was at the frost level, but I think that the cold weather did have an impact and created this.
And how much water, I guess, was lost? I know you said like half of the tank, but how much, do you have a rough estimate?
You know, I haven't gotten hard numbers on what we used yesterday. When I got at the plant at about 5:30, we were running at 3 million gallons pumping out, and we increased that to over 6 million gallons. The majority of that water was going out on the street, you know, per day.
Explain what happened at the water plant while all this was going on.
A lot of organized chaos. We had to make a decision whether we were going to shut the city down and go on a boil advisory. You hit 20 PSI, citywide boil advisory. We worked with the hospital. They were maintaining pressure of 37 pounds, and we were using that as our benchmark to keep the city from boiling their water for 3 or 4 days.
How about the crews themselves? Any issues health-wise?
I can't say enough about everyone in the city. We all pitched in, did our own jobs, worked well together. Hard to get them in the warming stations. To my knowledge, no one got hurt or injured due to the cold.
Considering how much water there was and how cold it was, the fact that you found it at all, because you got to be working slowly through something like that.
Well, I don't think any one of our crews were working slowly. In fact, we had to slow them down often to keep them in a less chaotic atmosphere. Our problem was most of our valves were underwater, under snow, and they were froze up, so we had a lot of issues shutting those valves down.
Do we have a number for damages? Was there?
I don't have any idea because we had so many people out there, different departments. That number will probably take a month to put together with our controller. We have an account set up for this, but I have no idea.
Water service in the immediate area, how is that?
Surprisingly, I don't think there's any issues. We've got some hydrants running. It sounds like all the water is clear. The hospital's reporting good water. We haven't been getting a lot of calls, so I think that we dodged a bullet on dirty water for the most part.
You mentioned the hospital. What exact factor are they? Obviously, are they the biggest customer then?
Well, they are at the top of our critical customers for water. Bill Farrell, who was the DPW director, manages the maintenance there, and because he and I have a good rapport, we were on the phone with each other immediately. They called in and got water ordered, so they were giving bottled water, and prevented from having any problems should something happen.
Do you know how many people were working on it and if other people came in to help?
There's a long list of people, and I hope someone can bring that list up. We must have had 30 or 40 city people working. I had nearly everyone in the water wastewater department working in one way or another. I couldn't tell you how many people we had there.
You've had a lot of water main breaks. Was this one bigger, or just because of the weather, or because of the location that made this more significant?
That's a good point. We do have a lot of breaks. The criticality on this one was the extreme weather, the large diameter pipe. It was a rather large break, and it was in close proximity to our water tower. Our water tower took the brunt of the hit, and we had more water on the street than normal. Volume and proximity to the tower.
The street's surprisingly clear of ice.
Well, that's DPW. They worked very good. They've got a good group of people. They pulled a plan together and scraped it and cleared it and hauled it away. I don't know where it went. We had some storm sewers that plugged up, and as a result, other portions, the storm bubbled up on the north side of the mall. We thought we had a second main break at one time, but that was just a plug storm and surcharging through a manhole.
How about the hole that's there now?
The hole is pretty near done. We're just trying to round up some gravel to finish it off and compact it, and hopefully it'll be good till spring, and we'll redo the road.
What about affected local businesses? Anyone step forward and say, hey, like we got an issue or anything like that?
Well, a lot of local businesses had to shut down because of lack of water, and everyone to date has been very understanding of the situation.
I guess how is the water gonna be, like, how's these, the pipes or everything kinda gonna be monitored, or, you know, how, are you guys working on ways to make sure that this doesn't happen again, or making precautions, for the future?
Well, this will happen again, hopefully to not this extent. We've already been talking about a roundtable discussion, pros and cons on what went well, what went wrong, and how to better this for next time. This is really a normal operation. Cold weather and the volume of water made it really difficult. Nothing that most cities don't go through on a daily basis. Anybody else? I mean, maybe we should bring, anybody else you want anybody else up here? Do you have more questions for me, or?
I see
Yeah,
there-
here's the list. You might want to run through this list.
I will read a list. I'm not sure if it's complete or not. We got the city of Gladstone out rather early because we were going to expand our area of shutdown, and we were looking at going from 3 valves to 15 or 20. So we were, making a bigger crew. Gladstone sent people over. Ed Burnett had front end loaders out there. He worked with us. 2 retirees, Jay DeChambeau and Mark Rose, pitched in. Bill Farrell from the hospital. Delta County Road Commission, Emergency Management, Delta County Sheriff's Department, Delta County Search and Rescue, MDOT, Rampart, Central Dispatch, Michigan State Police, local media, Binks, Donut Connection, Rosie's, Drifters, McDonald's, The Store, Starbucks, Views, Moe's Pub, Onion King, Bobaloons, Lori Rimkos from Premier Real Estate, Jamie DeGrand of DeGrand Construction, local reps McBroom and LaFave, and I'm sure that this is not complete. Everyone pitched in and offered help. Anything else? Anybody else want to step up? Any other questions?
Can we talk to Rob for a second?
Sure.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, thank you.
To cut off that section of town had to be kind of tough, explaining how that all happened.
We worked with the Sheriff's Department, MDOT, Delta County Road Commission, Public Works to set up the barricades. It does take a little bit of time and effort to reroute all that traffic, But our night shift, it was kind of nice with the time of the day. It was early enough before the big rush came in, so they were able to get the detours set up prior to the big rush of traffic and time. And they did our guys did a phenomenal job of getting that set up in that amount of time.
How about concern of the roadway after you opened it up from ice?
You know, it was it looked like a regular UP road. When we got there in the morning, the amount of ice on the road, we didn't think it was probably going to be open. I think the first estimate that came in was maybe on Saturday they would have the road up, but our Public Works and Jeff's guys did such a phenomenal job of shutting the water off and scraping it off in an amount of time that, you know, we had that road open by probably 3 o'clock, I believe, which I didn't think it was going to be open within a day or so. We did, the one thing I would like to stress, when we have these situations, when people, we did have several issues with people trying to go around our barricades, and we set those barricades up for the simple reason to protect our people, to protect everyone working in there. Everyone has a job to do, and we do have people that go around our barricades. They'll actually physically get out and move the barricades to go around them. And anyone that we did catch, they were cited. Sometimes it is hard to catch these people because we can't have our officer leave the post, otherwise it opens up the flood. So we do ask when we have these situations that you obey our officers and don't go through our barricades, please. Because someone can get hurt when you're doing this. Anything else?
Did you have to call in any extra people, Bob? Because obviously you had, if something happened elsewhere in the city, you had to be covered there too.
Yes, we had, we held our night shift over. The timing for us was actually pretty good because we switched shifts at 7 o'clock. This came in just prior to 6 o'clock, so we held our night shift over for a few hours, and then we called in some people to replace them to finish out the day. And like always, you know, we work with all the law enforcement agencies in Delta County, so state police, sheriff's department, they know what was going on, and they all stepped up to help us handle regular calls, any traffic control. I mean, the sheriff himself was out there working a checkpoint for us. And so when it comes to these type of situations, you know, from a law enforcement perspective, we all work great together. And from a city perspective, I thought everything went phenomenal, how every department worked together, and at the end of the day, we got the job done well in advance of what I think everyone originally thought it was going to be, and that doesn't happen without good cooperation from all of them.
You think it's similar to when the power plant issue happened a couple of years ago?
I don't know. I don't know if the word is fortunate. I don't think I was working that day. I got called in, but it's very similar. Everyone works together at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter what department, what city you're from. We all help each other, and that's just the way it is around here, and it's always been like that. And at the end of the day, it works out.
I think the big difference though is that that's the heart of Escanaba. That's where all the traffic is that you had to deal with.
Yeah, and you know, that's a huge concern to all of us is when you have to shut down North Lincoln Road for anything, even when you have a small accident, it's a huge impact. And you know, with the detour that was set up, it actually worked out very, very well. You know, it's hard to navigate semis through the city, but it got done. At the end of the day, it all got done. And I'm proud of everyone that did it in the city. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you again, Ron.
Patrick, did you want to talk about it?
I don't know what else there is left to say.
Yeah.
Unless anyone wants to.
5% across the board raise.
There,
It's been
no,
announced by the
we're not
city
close
manager
to
here
no
today.
chases yet, thankfully. I'm Patrick Jordan, the city manager, and I spent the day, for the most part yesterday, in a warm car while these guys are in sub-zero temperatures and they're soaking wet trying to fix this pipe, and I'm amazed at what happened yesterday. The amount of water that was coming out of that tank
the ability of the water plant to keep the pressures up so that we could avoid boil water advisories. The fact that it was finished by 5 o'clock in the afternoon and the hole was filled in and everybody was on their way home was amazing. Because yesterday morning, that seemed like an impossibility. This is going to be a 2-day event at least, and those guys, Jeff Lampy's crew, our public works guys, our water sewer guys, everyone who volunteered their help from the city of Gladstone, our retirees, everyone that showed up contributed to making this thing happen. I've never seen such a sense of community. I come from bigger cities, I guess, and I've never seen such a sense of community as I've seen here. It was awesome.
Well, you come from another cold place.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Just a little bit, so you've seen this kind of thing happen before, right? But it happened here so quick. Do you think it's because of the type of folks we have here, or how do you think it got done so quick here when you have that experience of seeing it done elsewhere?
Just the fact that everyone pulled together so quickly and mobilized so quickly, and everyone knew what their job was. They listened to direction. Jeff ran a good shop yesterday. Our public works director, Bob Baycott, ran his people really well. We had the right people and the right equipment to get this all done. I've seen something similar to this. It was on Muskegon County on the wastewater scale. A 66-inch sewer force main broke and flooded. We had to actually destroy homes because of it. It was an awful event, but the same thing applied there. There was an emergency operations center set up. They commanded it, did a very good job on it then too. So this was amazing. The way this whole thing happened and was done. The news crews wanted to come out at 5 o'clock and get some on the site footage, and it was done. There was nothing but a hole in the ground. It was all over with, and the guys were on the way home. So it was difficult to get them to slow down, to warm up, to eat. We're delivering food to them. Everybody wanted. All these restaurants were donating food. These guys wouldn't even take time to eat because they wanted to keep moving and get it done. So, anybody else?
We do have another gentleman in the room.
Thank you.
Bob Bierbaum, he's the emergency management coordinator. And first I'd like to thank him because I was on the phone with him throughout the day yesterday, and he was giving me all kinds of advice, things to do. So I don't know if you have any questions for Bob, but he's also here.
Give us an assessment, Bob.
Well, I'm still getting caught up myself. Did you get my text, by the way?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Kudos to the city. Terrific job. And you think of the weather conditions, what they went through, and no injuries. No injuries. That comes from the top down. And kudos to the employees. I can't imagine. I wouldn't want to work in those conditions. Robert kept me quite informed very well. We bounced ideas. I just want to add one thing. When you do close that part of town, because it is a highway, it's not just the city of Escanaba's decision. It's the county, the state, and we all know the more people we get involved, how much fun that is. That actually went, I thought, very quick. It was a couple of phone calls, and so that went well. Basically what MDOT said, basically get the job done, do what you gotta do. And again, the city shined. Jeff, wow, I can't say enough praises about you and your crews. Mayor, city manager, kudos. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Don't want to get anybody's hopes up. The complexity from my office, if you will, is because the governor declared a state of emergency, where do we fit here? That's what I'm trying to find out, and nobody has any answers for me yet. So, oh, I'm sorry. So we'll go from there. We're going to document everything, and I don't know what we can do, but we're certainly going to try.
Do you have any concerns about flooding? It's supposed to be 40 by the weekend, and there's a lot of ice out there on the roads. And
I don't see it. I think the bigger issue is going to be are we going to get heaving on the roadways. Frost level prior to this week was 32 inches. I can only imagine what it is now. I think it's going to be a lot deeper. So that's going to be a concern. You had what you call an ice fall on, I can't remember which river it was, the Ford River. So the water was high, the water's running below, and some of the ice fell. But you also had an ice jam earlier in the year on the Ford River also. So, you know, we're paying attention to that, Jack, and Escanaba River it was, I'm sorry.
Bob, go back to the declaration, the fact that the state declared a state of emergency, what that can mean. Tell us what.
Well, what my goal and hope, and I don't know, and again, I don't want to raise anybody's hopes up too high. Part of declaring an emergency opens up what's called Section 19 funds. And there's a lot of requirements and stuff. We've been down this road before, 2014, 15. Jeff, does that sound right, Mayor? Shaking heads, yes. And it is, it's like pulling teeth because we're in that gray area of emergency. However, we need to continue documenting, and because typically the city would declare first, the county would support their declaration, and then the state. In this case, the state declared. My argument would be, we don't need to declare, you already did. So we're going to have that discussion as soon as we're done here, just to try and answer and dot some i's. So if we are eligible, we want to make sure we are.
The other issue out of that time that you're talking about, Escanaba got short-shifted a little bit on the funds because they use their own personnel compared to other communities.
That wasn't Section 19 funds, that was a grant that the state set up. So that didn't even go through emergency management, that was the complication.
So that won't be an issue then this time?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
I've been on the phone all morning and most of yesterday trying to lay an argument. My concern, obviously, the city lost a lot of money in water. They lost a lot of money in Jeff's budget to do this. They stood up to do the job. My argument is try to see if we can't recoup some of those because there was a state of emergency declared. If you look at the FEMA guidelines, deep cold, deep freeze, questionable. We've been down there, I'm not going to rehash that. But again, because the governor declared, I'm trying to present some arguments for the city.
Can you use public works and public safety as part of that expense then too?
Yes. But no guarantees, don't want to get anybody hopes up high, but we're presenting an argument. The argument's being laid out right now and it's at the state level right now already. They didn't know that. So. Good? Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
My text, is that had you already? So you're looking at?
Jeff, was it right in this location right here?
Right at 25th and 1st.
Right here?
Right there.
Yeah, right there. Yep. Good.
Yeah.
And the water flowed all the way to Lincoln.
Everything goes to the lake.
All roads, all drains lead to water.
That's right, trying to get the Civic Center ice rink going there.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I did.
She wasn't in that. The others were remarkable.
Yeah, it is. It's on Facebook.
Yeah, I.
About those blow torches heating up the valves and they're turning